The Galactic Council chamber floated above a blue star, wide and silent, filled with beings from dozens of worlds. Some were tall and thin, others wide and heavy. Some breathed air, others mist, others something no human science had ever named. The chamber had seen wars declared and ended, species welcomed and erased. It had rules older than many suns. Humans were new here. They were seated at the smallest table. Most council members did not think much of them. Humans were interesting, yes, but not frightening. They were loud, emotional, and too fast to act. Their technology was clever but messy. Their ships worked, but they looked like they were always one mistake away from falling apart. The council labeled them as Category Yellow, creative but unstable. That morning, the council was hosting a joint defense simulation. It was meant to test cooperation between allied species. No real weapons, no real danger, just numbers, shields, and tactics. Human Commander Elias Ward stood behind his seat. He was average in height, with dark hair already showing gray. His uniform was clean, but worn like it had seen many repairs. He watched the simulation screen with calm eyes. Across the chamber, General Tavin of the Krell watched him closely. The Krell were proud warriors, tall and sharp-eyed. They respected strength and planning. They did not respect humans. Simulation begins. Announce the chamber AI. On the main display, a virtual enemy fleet appeared. It was large and well-organized. The Allied fleets formed lines, shields rising, weapons locking into place. For the first few minutes, everything went as expected. Then the enemy changed tactics. They broke formation and rushed forward, ignoring losses. Their ships slammed into shields, draining power faster than predicted. Defense line failing, the AI said calmly. Several council members shifted in discomfort. This was not supposed to happen. The simulation parameters were safe, but the numbers were getting ugly. "Human fleet, pull back," ordered Admiral Caish of the Volari. "Your position is exposed." Elias Ward did not answer right away. On the human command deck, officers spoke quickly, voices tense. "Shields at 40%. Left wing failing. We should retreat." Elias looked at the data. Then he looked at a small metal can resting near his console. It was an old habit. He did not need it, but it was there. He picked it up, took a sip, then held it out. "Mark," he said calmly, "hold my beer." The officer named Mark blinked. "Sir, just hold it." Mark took the can without question. Across the council chamber, translators worked fast. The phrase passed through hundreds of languages. Most of them did not have a direct match. The council AI paused for a fraction of a second. "Clarification requested," it said. "What is the operational meaning of this phrase?" No one answered. Elias stepped forward. "All ships," he said, his voice steady, "disable safety locks on engines. Reroute reserve power to forward thrusters." A human officer hesitated. "Sir, that will overload." "I know." The council erupted in noise. "That is against protocol," said General Tobin sharply. "He is breaking simulation rules." "It is a simulation," said another council member. "Let him fail." The human fleet surged forward. Instead of pulling back, they charged directly into the enemy formation. Engines burned bright, far beyond safe limits. Warning lights flashed across human ships, but none of them slowed. "Human ships are colliding intentionally," the AI reported. "They are using their hulls as weapons," said a stunned observer. One human cruiser cut its engines at the last second and drifted sideways, smashing into two enemy ships. Another vented atmosphere to spin faster, firing its main weapon at point-blank range. This was not strategy. This was something else. The enemy fleet began to collapse, unable to adapt to the chaos. Within minutes, the simulation ended. Silence filled the chamber. The main display showed the result: Allied victory. Human losses were high, but the enemy fleet was completely destroyed. Elias walked back to his seat and took the can from Mark. "Thanks," he said, and took another sip. The council stared. General Tovin's eyes narrowed. "That phrase," he said slowly. "Explain it." Elias shrugged. "It means I'm about to do something risky." "That is not an explanation," said the Valari admiral. "Why announce it?" Elias thought for a moment. "Curtsy," he said, "gives people time to step back." The council AI spoke. Phrase logged. Cultural reference noted. Behind the calm tone, data streams exploded. Probability models failed. Risk assessments contradicted each other. Category yellow flickered. That should have been the end of it. But the galaxy had a habit of watching humans after moments like that. 3 cycles later, on a mining moon near the edge of Allied space, a real problem began. The moon was small and rich in heavy metals. Dozens of species worked there, including humans. Deep underground, a tunnel collapsed after a drilling error, and now hundreds of workers were trapped. Rescue drones were deployed. They failed. The rock was unstable. Any vibration caused more collapse. Command centers argued. Engineers debated. Time passed. Oxygen levels dropped. Among the workers was a human engineer named Caleb Morris. He was dirty, tired, and angry at the situation. He listened to the rescue teams arguing over the comms. "They won't make it in time," said one voice. "It's too risky," said another. Caleb looked at the narrow service shaft leading deeper into the collapse zone. It was not stable. Everyone knew that. He removed his helmet and handed it to a nearby worker. "Hold my beer," he said, though there was no beer, only the words. The translator struggled again. "What does that mean?" asked a nearby alien medic. "It means," Caleb said, "already moving, I'm going in." He crawled into the shaft with only a flashlight and a coil of cable. Rocks shifted. Dust filled the air. His heart raced, but he did not stop. Hours later, he emerged with the last trapped worker tied to his back. Caleb collapsed, laughing and coughing. The rescue teams stared. The incident report reached the Galactic Council. The phrase was flagged. Analysts began searching human records. They found thousands of examples. Sports, engineering, warfare, exploration. Always the same pattern. Phrase spoken. Rules ignored. Success achieved. Or failure survived. Fear began to grow. When a border skirmish broke out with a hostile empire months later, the council urged caution. Humans were asked to stand down. Instead, a human pilot named Rowan Hale opened a channel. The camera showed him strapped into his cockpit, relaxed, smiling. He placed a drink pouch on the console. "Hey," he said, "just so you know, the phrase did not need translation anymore." Across the galaxy, threat monitors spiked. The council raised the alert level, not because humans were attacking, but because they were smiling. And they had just handed something away. The galaxy had begun to talk in whispers. Across star systems, officials, scientists, and military leaders all asked the same question. How dangerous are humans really? They had seen the simulations, the mining rescue, and the pilot who had smiled before an impossible maneuver. Yet the full scale of human recklessness combined with success was still unknown. On the mining moon where Caleb Morris had saved hundreds, the news of his actions spread faster than any official communication. Workers told workers, miners told engineers, and engineers told planetary authorities. Soon, the event was being analyzed in real time by alien scientists who were fascinated and terrified. The human action did not follow any logical pattern. It could not be predicted or simulated. Caleb had risked death with no calculation beyond instinct, and everyone survived. In the central hub of the Interstellar Observation Alliance, dozens of species watched the recorded footage of Caleb's rescue. Their eyes widened as they saw a human move through collapsing tunnels with nothing but courage and a coil of cable. One of the observers, a purple-skinned diplomat named Fira, could not hide her reaction. Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to speak but could not find words. "They are different," she said finally. "They do not follow the same fear models. They do not calculate like any other species." Her colleague, a three-limbed strategist from the Viren, nodded. "And yet they survive, they succeed, and they even seem to enjoy it. This is dangerous." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the humans were unaware of the rising concern. Caleb returned to his routine as if nothing had happened. He checked equipment, repaired faulty drills, and joked with his co-workers. Yet, to him, the phrase he had spoken was nothing special. It was a signal to himself, "Do not hesitate." Not far from Caleb, a Terran command center received a message from the Council. They wanted a report on human behavior in crisis situations. Commander Elias Ward read it with a faint smile. He knew exactly what the Council would find. Humans were unpredictable, brave, and often reckless. That combination was terrifying to other species. The next incident occurred on a distant colony near the edge of known space. A massive gas storm had trapped a convoy of supply ships. Visibility was near zero, and standard autopilot protocols failed. Drones could not navigate the turbulent clouds. Alien pilots refused to move, waiting for the storm to pass, knowing that one wrong move could destroy their fleet. Enter human engineer named Lila Grant. She assessed the situation quickly. "We can make it," she said, ignoring warnings from the aliens. "We just need to take the direct route." Her team hesitated. The storm was too dangerous. One mistake would destroy all ships. Lila looked at her team, placed her hand on the control panel, and smiled. "Hold my beer," she said. The translator blinked again, and the alien stared in confusion. Then Lila took over the lead ship manually, overriding safety locks and piloting straight into the storm. The ship shuddered, lights flickered, and alarms blared, but she guided it through, clearing a path for the other supply ships. Each one followed her lead, relying on her instinct and courage. Hours later, the fleet arrived safely at the colony. The aliens were stunned, speechless. Some were shaking. They had witnessed human instinct outperform every calculated protocol they had ever learned. Lila stepped off her ship, dirty and exhausted, and shrugged. "It was the fastest way," she said, "and it worked." Reports of these incidents reached the Council in waves. Analysts updated threat levels in real time. A new code appeared in their systems. Maximum alert. Humanity was no longer a curious anomaly. They were a variable that could not be predicted or contained. Every example showed the same pattern: a human confronted with extreme danger, a disregard for protocol, and a result that defied logic. In one simulation, a group of human astronauts was asked to navigate a collapsing space station. Robots and AI assistants calculated multiple safe paths. Humans ignored the safest path entirely. They climbed through maintenance shafts, made jumps where gravity was unpredictable, and rerouted power from critical systems to improvised engines. The AI recorded the results in disbelief. All humans survived, some with minor injuries, but the station was stabilized. Other species would have failed instantly. The phrase, "hold my beer," began to circulate among galactic intelligence circles. No one could fully translate it. No one could prepare for what it implied. It had become a warning. If a human said this, do not assume they would fail. Assume they might succeed in ways no one could imagine. Meanwhile, a hostile empire watched closely. They had heard rumors of humans and dismissed them at first, but after seeing multiple incidents, they reconsidered. They sent scouts to observe Earth and its colonies. They wanted to see if the stories of reckless genius were true. On a border planet, a human pilot named Jonah Reyes led a small fleet in patrol. Enemy ships appeared, larger and better armed. The Council had advised caution, but Jonah did not hesitate. He called to his squad, "Hold my beer," and led a daring attack that disrupted the enemy formation. Ships collided, engines overstrained, weapons fired in creative patterns. The result was complete victory. Jonah's squad returned to base with minor damage, and the enemy fleet retreated in confusion. The news reached the Council in real time. Analysts were stunned. Every time humans acted, their actions broke every rule. defied every calculation, and produced results that were impossible to predict. It was exhilarating and terrifying. The council convened in emergency session. They debated whether humans should be further monitored, contained, or approached as allies. Many argued containment was impossible. Humans did not act on fear or protocol. Their intelligence was instinctive, creative, and reckless. They could not be predicted, and that made them a threat to anyone who tried. Back on Earth, Commander Elias Ward read the council's report. He smiled faintly. To him, all humans were doing what humans had always done, solving problems the fastest way they could. Sometimes it was messy. Sometimes it was dangerous. Sometimes it scared everyone watching. But it always worked. On a remote station near the Orion Belt, a human named Mia Larson tested a new propulsion engine. The council had warned against exceeding safety limits. The engine was unstable, unpredictable. Alien engineers protested. Mia shrugged. "Ha ha, we'll see what it can do," she said. She handed her supervisor a small bottle. "Hold my beer!" The engine roared. Flames and energy arcs filled the test chamber. Alarms screamed. Systems failed, and then miraculously, the engine stabilized, running faster and more efficiently than anyone predicted. The alien engineers stared in disbelief. Taking notes furiously, reports like this circulated across the galaxy. Humans ignored danger, survived, and often improved the outcome for everyone else. The phrase "hold my beer" became synonymous with unpredictable genius. Analysts tried to create algorithms to predict human actions. None worked. Humans were a variable that could not be contained or calculated. The galaxy's perception of humanity changed. Curiosity turned into fear. Other species began to assume the worst every time a human spoke. The phrase was now considered a prelude to extreme risk and extreme results. Every fleet, colony, and research station updated their protocols. If a human says this, prepare for anything. Human culture remained unaware of the concern. They continued to live, work, and explore it. To them, "hold my beer" was simply a way to indicate commitment. It meant, "I will do this, no matter the odds, no matter the risk." For humans, it was instinct, courage, and a little humor. On a distant mining colony, the phrase would be used again. A drilling accident trapped a team under collapsing rock. Humans rushed in, ignoring safety protocols. Other species waited, unsure if they should intervene. The humans emerged, alive, with the trapped workers saved. The phrase had been spoken. The pattern repeated. Galactic analysts realized that humans had a unique relationship with danger. They did not fear death the way other species did. They did not hesitate. And when the odds were impossible, they found a way. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. In the council chamber, debate continued. Some argued humans could be controlled with enough rules. Others disagreed. "You cannot control instinct," said Fira. "You cannot predict courage. You cannot measure stubbornness. Humans will act, and they will succeed in ways we cannot imagine." Across the galaxy, intelligence networks monitored human colonies. Every new report increased the alert level. Humans were no longer a minor curiosity. They were a major variable. They were dangerous. They were unpredictable. And they were winning. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans went about their lives. Caleb Morris fixed drills. Lila Grant piloted supply convoys. Jonah Reyes led fleets. Mia Larson tested engines. Each one spoke the phrase in moments of risk, handily, calmly, humor intact. The galaxy did not know whether to admire them, fear them, or prepare for the worst. And in every corner of the galaxy, one thing was clear. When a human says, "hold my beer," something incredible is about to happen. The hostile empire, the Nirathi, had watched humanity closely for months. They had dismissed the first reports as exaggeration, but after seeing multiple videos of human ingenuity and recklessness, they were uneasy. The idea that a species could break every known rule of strategy and still succeed was unacceptable. They decided to test humans with real war. On the edge of Nirathi space, human patrol ships detected a large fleet approaching. The Nirathi ships were bigger, faster, and heavily armed. All calculations predicted a human defeat. Every known algorithm labeled the humans as doomed. The human commander in the sector, a woman named Serena Voss, gathered her fleet. Her ships were smaller, older, and less equipped than the Nirathi vessels. Alien allies advised retreat. The council had sent warnings, asking humans to act with care. Serena shook her head. She looked at her crew, each human tense but determined. "We are not retreating," she said. "We fight, and we do it our way." An officer hesitated. "Sir, this is suicidal. They will destroy us." Serena placed a small can on the console. "Hold my beer," she said calmly. The translator repeated the phrase across alien channels. Everyone watching stopped. The phrase was familiar now, and now it was a warning. Serena's fleet charged forward. The Nirathi expected human ships to scatter or surrender. Instead, they collided with precision, weaving through enemy fire, exploiting gaps no strategy suggested existed. Human ships overrode safety protocols, using their engines and weapons beyond rated limits. Some ships risked complete destruction to ram enemy vessels, spinning them out of formation. The Nirathi were stunned. Their leaders could not predict the humans' actions. Each maneuver was reckless and daring. Each move broke their expectations. One human ship, piloted by Marcus Klein, entered the center of the Nirathi formation alone. His ship shuddered under enemy fire. Shields flickered, weapons overloaded, engines nearly failed. Yet Marcus kept going, weaving through chaos, firing at weak points, and creating openings for other human ships. The enemy began to fall apart. Back at the council, observers watched with disbelief. The humans were not using strategy in the traditional sense. They were improvising, risking everything and succeeding. Calculations crashed, probability models failed, and analysts struggled to record what was happening. A Nirathi admiral, normally calm and ruthless, shouted in disbelief, "They cannot survive this! They will all die!" Minutes later, the Nirathi formation was broken. Ships were disabled or retreating. Human losses were high, but they had achieved victory. The sector was secured. Humans had won against impossible odds. Serena returned to the fleet base. Her crew cheered quietly, exhausted but alive. The council representatives took notes, their faces pale. They had never seen a species act with such fearless instinct and achieve impossible results. The news spread across the galaxy. Other species watched the recorded battle, fear and admiration mixed together. Humans had proven that in war rules could be ignored, and yet victory could still be achieved. The phrase "hold my beer" became legendary. It was no longer just words. It was a symbol of human courage, recklessness, and the ability to succeed where no one else could. On Earth, humans did not celebrate it. Serena and her crew returned to their normal routines, repairing ships, preparing for the next mission. To them, it was just another day. The phrase had been spoken, the danger had been faced, and they had survived. Elsewhere, intelligence agencies across the galaxy updated threat assessments. Humans were no longer a minor curiosity or a manageable ally. They were unpredictable, capable of feats that could not be calculated, and potentially unstoppable. Any species considering aggression against humanity we considered immediately. Meanwhile, a scientist named Dr. Frozen, Elena Rhee, studying human physiology, realized something unsettling. Humans seemed to handle stress differently. Their reactions under extreme danger were not panic-driven. Their hearts raced, but they functioned at peak efficiency. Fear did not paralyze them. It sharpened their focus. They were unpredictable not just in strategy, but in biology. The Nirathi fleet regrouped and sent messages to the council, demanding that humans be controlled or monitored closely. The council had no solution. Humans could not be controlled. Every attempt at imposing restrictions or protocols had failed in simulations. Humans simply did not operate by the same rules. Meanwhile, human colonists on distant moons continued their daily lives. Engineers, pilots, and explorers used the phrase in moments of danger without thinking. Caleb Morris repaired drilling systems, Lila Grant guided convoys through storms, Jonah Reyes led patrols against hostile ships, Mia Larson tested engines at extreme limits, and Serena Voss commanded fleets. Each time success followed chaos, and the galaxy watched in awe. At the edge of known space, sensors detected an incoming alien probe. Analysts expected cautious action. A human named Felix Arden was tasked with intercepting it. He reviewed the data and shrugged. "Hold my beer," he said, picking up a small device that would be used as a tool in ways no algorithm could predict. Felix's maneuver was reckless. He used the probe's own systems against it, creating a feedback loop that disabled it completely. The probe's signals were recorded as a total success, with 0 casualties or damage. Once again, humans had succeeded where no one else would have dared. Across the galaxy, every new incident added to the legend. Analysts recalculated risk constantly, only to find their predictions wrong every time. Humans were more than a species. They were a force that could not be contained, a variable that could not be calculated, and a mystery that inspired both fear and respect. In the council chamber, debate continued. Some representatives argued that humans were too dangerous to be trusted. Others argued that their courage and ingenuity were unmatched and that they should be embraced as allies. No consensus was reached. Humans were no longer a question of curiosity. They were a fact that could not be ignored. On Earth, humans went about their lives. To them, "Hold my beer" was just a way of saying, "I will take action." They did not understand the panic it caused elsewhere. They did not care. They acted because it was necessary, because it was instinct, because it was what humans did. And as the galaxy watched, the legend grew. Every human who spoke the phrase reminded the universe that the impossible could be achieved, that rules could be broken, and that courage could outmatch fear. Every human act added to the story. The Nirathi would think twice before challenging humanity again. Other species would follow the same caution, and humans, unaware of the fear and awe they inspired, continued to live their lives, act with instinct, and survive where no one else could. The galaxy had begun to fear humans not for their weapons or fleets, but for their creativity and courage. Reports came daily of humans achieving the impossible in dangerous situations. Council meetings were filled with analysts debating the unpredictability of humanity. Every new incident showed that humans ignored rules, protocols, and even danger itself, yet survived and often improved the outcome. On a research station near the edge of a volatile star cluster, a human named Nolan Price was called in. The council requested him to analyze a dangerous problem, a superweapon that had reactivated unexpectedly. The weapon was ancient, automated, and highly unstable. It had been offline for thousands of cycles but suddenly powered up, locking on every ship in orbit. The station's defenses could not stop it. Alien scientists worked frantically, sending calculations to the council. Every method failed. The weapon systems were too complex. Automated defenses blocked every attempt to disable it. Panic spread across the station. Nolan Price reviewed the data calmly. He listened to the reports and watched the simulations. The council suggested standard procedures, which involved evacuation and remote deactivation attempts. Nolan shook his head. "This won't work," he said. "We need to do it directly. We need someone inside." The council was shocked. "Inside? That is impossible. Radiation levels alone will kill a person in seconds." Nolan smiled faintly. "I can do it." He prepared himself. Suits, tools, and protective gear were ready. Radiation shielding was calculated, but the machine was too unpredictable. Everyone else evacuated to safe distances. Before entering, Nolan took off his jacket and handed it to a stunned alien scientist. "Hold my beer," he said. The phrase echoed across the station. Alien translators worked furiously. Analysts recorded rising heart rates, sudden calm, and utter focus. Then Nolan moved into the core chamber. Inside, the weapon's energy pulsed around him. Alarms screamed. Automated systems tried to repel him. Radiation scorched the air. The machine detected movement, sent defenses against him, and recalculated constantly. Every human decision had to be perfect. Nolan ignored the alarms and signals. He moved with precision, improvising with tools not designed for this system. Every wire he touched, every switch he flipped, was a gamble. He rerouted power through circuits that should have failed. He shut down protocols in a sequence no algorithm would predict. Outside, the council watched through sensors. Calculators, computers, and AI failed to predict Nolan's actions. Human instinct and ingenuity were impossible to simulate. He was surviving situations that should have killed him. Minutes passed like hours. The weapon's power levels fluctuated dangerously. Radiation readings spiked beyond acceptable limits, yet Nolan continued, methodically, calmly, improvising solutions as he went. Finally, with one last adjustment, the core stabilized. Systems shut down safely. The weapon powered down just seconds before a potential catastrophic event. The station was saved. Nolan collapsed, exhausted but alive. He had survived against odds no other being could manage. Scientists rushed to assist him. Alien analysts recorded every detail, their astonishment growing. The council received the report. Nolan's actions were beyond calculation. No protocol could have predicted success. Humans had again proven that instinct, courage, and improvisation outmatched technology, strategy, and fear. Across the galaxy, the phrase "hold my beer" was now a universal warning. It meant that a human was about to take action in ways no one else could understand or control. It was not reckless, it was instinctual genius, combined with courage. Meanwhile, back on Earth and its colonies, humans continued their daily lives. Engineers repaired, pilots trained, and explorers mapped dangerous zones. Each human acted when needed, speaking the phrase in moments of risk. To them, it was a signal of action, not a statement of fearlessness. The galaxy adjusted. Every fleet, every station, every colony updated its protocols. Yet, humans were not to be underestimated. If a human spoke the phrase, "prepare for anything," analysts tried to create models, simulations, and calculations, but every attempt failed. Humans operated outside rules, beyond predictability. They were not just a species. They were a force that the galaxy could not ignore or contain. On a remote outpost, young humans trained in dangerous situations. They learned from veterans who had used the phrase countless times. It was a way of life. Courage, quick thinking, and ingenuity were celebrated. Humans did not see danger as a wall. They saw it as a puzzle to be solved. The council finally admitted that humans were high-risk allies. Maximum threat level was maintained permanently. Not as punishment, but as precaution. Humans were capable of feats that could change the outcome of wars, rescue operations, and disasters. Nolan Price returned to normal duties, though alien scientists continued to study his actions. They recorded his movements, decisions, and calm under pressure. Every new human action added to the growing database of unpredictability. The phrase had become legend. Across galaxies, species learned to respect it. They learned that when a human says, "hold my beer," something incredible is about to happen. Rules, fear, and logic might be broken, yet success could follow. And humans, unaware of the awe and fear they inspired, continued to live, act, and survive. They continued to take risks, solve problems, and push boundaries. Their instinctive courage made them a unique force in the galaxy. In every corner of space, analysts, scientists, and military leaders prepared, watched, and feared the next time a human would say those simple words, because when it happened, no one knew what would follow. The galaxy was tense. Every species had learned to fear the phrase humans now used casually, "hold my beer." It was no longer just words, and it was a signal that a human was about to act, defy danger, and change outcomes in ways no one could predict. Command centers and fleets remained alert whenever the phrase was heard. Far from the council, on a mining colony in a dangerous asteroid belt, a catastrophic event began. A large asteroid broke from orbit and headed toward the colony. Alarms blared, shields activated, and emergency protocols began. Automated systems calculated evacuation paths and predicted destruction within hours. Alien engineers and human workers alike rushed to implement solutions. Among them was a human named Aaron Cole. He had studied asteroid trajectories in engineering but had never faced anything this massive. Sensors showed that every standard solution would fail. The colony would be destroyed. Equipment and drones designed for asteroid deflection were too small. Evacuation ships could not move fast enough. Aaron stepped into the control center and assessed the data. He ignored the panic around him. He placed his helmet on a console, signaling a moment of preparation. Then he looked at his team and said, "Hold my beer." The translators repeated the phrase across multiple species channels. Some froze in confusion, others in fear. The phrase had become a warning. Humans were about to act in impossible ways. Aaron ran calculations in seconds, faster than any machine. He saw the asteroid's trajectory, the weaknesses in its mass, the gravitational pull of nearby rocks, and the limitations of the colony's systems. Then he ignored the safe options and acted. He manually rerouted energy from all shields to a single propulsion system designed for mining drills. He overcharged engines that were not meant to handle such force. Alien engineers shouted warnings, but Aaron ignored them. He climbed into a smaller ship and piloted directly toward the asteroid, the controls screaming under strain. Other humans followed his lead, improvising their own solutions. Drones were used as decoys, mining lasers fired from impossible angles to chip pieces off the asteroid, and teams coordinated in ways no protocol had planned. Every move was risky, and the slightest mistake could destroy the entire colony. The asteroid shuddered under their combined effort. Chunks broke off, changing its course slightly. Shields absorbed impacts far beyond design limits. Alarms flashed continuously, yet humans moved faster than the warnings could process. Aaron calculated a final maneuver. He aimed directly at the asteroid's core mass, planning to destabilize it with the propulsion thrust of his ship. Every sensor screamed that it was impossible. Every protocol said he would die, but he moved anyway. He shouted instructions to the team, coordinating timing and energy distribution with perfect instinct. The asteroid began to change trajectory. Slowly, first imperceptibly, then clearly, it veered away from the colony. The shields absorbed massive impacts, engines burned at maximum limits, and mining lasers destabilized the core. Alien engineers stared in disbelief. The final moments were tense. The final wife. Aaron's ship shook violently as he applied maximum thrust. Systems overloaded. Radiation alarms sounded. Every calculation predicted failure. But the asteroid's core fractured, the path shifted, and it missed the colony by mere kilometers. Human ships emerged battered but functional. The colony was safe. Humans had done the impossible again. Every alien observer was stunned, some shaking with fear and admiration. Aaron stepped from his ship, bruised and exhausted, and shrugged. "It worked," he said simply. The council received reports immediately. Probability models failed again. Analysts were forced to admit that humans could act in ways no logic, algorithm, or strategy could predict. Their instinctive courage and creativity made them a force the galaxy could not control. In distant fleets, commanders reviewed the asteroid incident. Every species began treating humans differently. Humans were no longer simply allies. They were an unpredictable variable with the power to change outcomes at will. "Hold my beer" became a universal warning signal for any imminent event involving humans. Back on Earth, Aaron returned to his daily routine. To him, it was just another problem solved. The phrase had been spoken. The danger had been faced. Success had followed. That was enough. Meanwhile, human colonies continued to operate, explore, and protect themselves. Pilots, engineers, and soldiers used the phrase when they faced impossible odds. Caleb Morris repaired drills under collapsing rock. Lila Grant navigated storms. Jonah Reyes led patrols against hostile forces. Mia Larson tested unstable engines. Serena Voss commanded fleets. Aaron Cole saved colonies from extinction. Every action followed the same pattern. Danger faced, instinct applied, success achieved. Across the galaxy, fear and respect for humans grew. Species learned to prepare for humans in ways they had never considered. Threat assessments reached maximum levels permanently. Humans were no longer a curiosity or a minor concern. They were a force to be reckoned with. Alien scientists studied human reactions. They discovered that humans handled extreme stress differently from all other species. Fear did not paralyze them. It focused them. Risk did not stop them. It drove them to action. Their brains, bodies, and instincts worked in perfect harmony under pressure. The council could no longer debate. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and fearless. They could survive disasters, win impossible battles, and outthink automated systems in ways no one could plan for. And humans, unaware of the awe and fear they inspired, continued to live and act. They continued to push boundaries, face danger, and succeed where no other species could. Their instinctive courage made them unique, unstoppable, and legendary. In every corner of the galaxy, when the phrase "hold my beer" was spoken, analysts, fleets, and colonies prepared for the impossible. And every time, humans delivered. The galaxy had grown cautious, wary, and respectful of humans. Reports from multiple systems had cemented a universal truth. When humans said, "hold my beer," the unexpected would happen. Wars could be won, disasters avoided, and impossible feats accomplished. Every corner of known space watched humans with a mix of fear and admiration. On the edge of known space, a deep space exploration vessel detected an anomaly. Sensors recorded massive energy surges from an unknown source. The anomaly was moving toward a nearby colony at near-light speed. Analysis suggested the energy could wipe out the planet if left unchecked. Alien fleets debated options. Standard methods of containment or evacuation would fail. Automated weapons could not respond in time. Every calculation suggested disaster was inevitable. The humans aboard the vessel prepared differently. Captain Aaron Cole, experienced in crises beyond the comprehension of most species, reviewed the data. The anomaly was unlike anything they had encountered before. No technology, no strategy, no history could predict what it would do. Aaron studied the patterns, the energy readings, and the velocity. Then he looked at his crew. "We do this our way," he said, calm and confident. A young officer hesitated. "Captain, the energy levels alone will destroy us." Aaron placed a small device on the console, a personal habit when moments of extreme danger arose. "Hold my beer," he said. The phrase transmitted across the vessel and the nearby fleets. Alien observers froze. The warning was clear. Humans were about to act in ways no one could anticipate. Aaron and his team moved quickly. They manually overrode automated systems, rerouted power from non-essential systems to propulsion and shielding, and modified engines in ways never approved by human or alien engineers. Every action was risky. Every calculation said failure was certain. Yet Aaron acted with focus, calm, and determination. The anomaly loomed closer. Energy pulses disrupted sensors and communications. Aliens watching from other fleets panicked as they could not understand the humans' method. Humans ignored fear, protocol, and standard safety. They improvised. Aboard the vessel, Aaron coordinated with the crew. Drones were deployed as energy dispersers. Shields were overcharged beyond safe limits. Engines burned at maximum capacity, navigating unpredictable fields of radiation. Human instinct guided every maneuver. Where machines would have failed, humans succeeded. Minutes passed, tension growing with each second. The anomaly reacted unpredictably to the humans' actions, shifting and pulsing dangerously. Aaron calculated a direct approach, aiming to stabilize the anomaly's energy core by intersecting its path with modified propulsion systems. Alien scientists and fleet commanders watched in disbelief as humans ignored every caution and risked everything. The plan was executed perfectly. The anomaly's energy stabilized. It slowed and shifted course, moving harmlessly past the colony. The humans' vessel and crew survived with minor damage, a miraculous outcome given the magnitude of the event. Across the galaxy, reports of the feat spread rapidly. Analysts and military leaders recorded every detail, trying to understand, simulate, and predict future actions. Every attempt failed. Humans were not just unpredictable. They defied the very nature of calculation and logic. The phrase, "hold my beer," became a universal symbol. It was no longer just an idiom. It meant that humans would act in ways that defied probability, fear, and reason. It was a signal that the impossible was about to be attempted and often achieved. Back on Earth, Aaron and his team returned to normal duties. To them, it was simply another problem solved. They did not celebrate. They did not revel in fear or danger. They acted because it was necessary, because instinct and courage demanded it. Meanwhile, the Council officially classified humans as high-risk allies. Maximum threat level was permanent, not as punishment but as a precaution. Humans were not just strong or smart, they were an entirely unpredictable variable that could change the outcome of wars, disasters, and exploration at will. Across the colonies, humans continued to act instinctively. Engineers repaired failing systems, pilots navigated deadly storms, soldiers led against overwhelming forces, and explorers ventured into dangerous unknowns. Each time the phrase was spoken, observers held their breath, knowing that rules could be broken and impossible success could follow. Alien fleets, research stations, and councils adjusted permanently. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and often impossible to understand. "Hold my beer" became a phrase that commanded attention, caution, and preparation. Every species learned that humans were a force that could not be ignored or controlled. In quiet moments, humans themselves were unaware of the legend growing around them. To them, the phrase was simple, a promise to act, a sign of commitment, and a reminder to face danger directly. Fear was not part of the equation. Action, creativity, and courage were. And so, as the galaxy watched, humans continued to live their lives, explore new worlds, face dangers that would kill any other species, and survive where no one else could. Every time a human said, "Hold my beer," the universe held its breath. And every time humans delivered the impossible.